Well, we should be in D, but there's no fiddlers, so we don't care.
Do what we want.
That's right.
Oh man, that was fun.
That was fun.
That was fun. Hey y'all, it's Jim Pankey.
And Allie Jean.
And Allie Jean. We have to lean over. So I got Allie Jean here, and we just wanted to talk today about some tips for learning the banjo. And y'all have heard me talk about this a lot, and you can go back through my videos and find tips. But Allie is not me, clearly, and she has some tips and some ideas about for beginner banjo players, and these aren't style specific. These are just for beginner banjo players. Maybe could even be extrapolated to beginner
anything
musicians.
Really. Yeah, that's my favorite thing, Jim, is just helping anybody get started with their journey as a musician. And I love that we're doing this right here because we're at John C. Campbell Folk School in Brasstown, North Carolina, which is where I took my first banjo class. It was a week-long class on clawhammer banjo. My teacher ended up helping me get this one for half off right after the class, and I've had it ever since. That was a long time ago now.
The late, great legend himself.
You're the legend. Yeah, David Bros.
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago. So
what year was it? Oh, wow. So that was about when I started teaching here.
Really?
You could have almost had a...
There you go.
You could have almost been with me.
Trace it back.
Yeah. So as tips go, what would be your number one tip to the beginner student?
So I'm going to tell you the tip that I wish I had done, which is listen a lot. And listening specifically to banjo music. And if you don't know where to start, just start where Google takes you and go from there. See what you like, see where the algorithm flows. But you're going to end up probably more in the bluegrass world or the old time and clawhammer banjo world. But hey, there's lots of little niches and nooks and crannies too. But the idea being to listen, and maybe you'll start listening with people that are playing out right now, the hot, cool, whoever's, blowing up your feed right now. But work it back, trace it back. Who'd they learn from? Who did they listen to? Go back from there. Who did they listen to? Because, this recorded music thing has only been around for like 100 years. So the people that are the oldest recordings, I mean, we still have maybe like only a couple generations back,
Absolutely.
people were playing with those people, right?
Absolutely.
So just try to find those real old recordings that spark something in you.
Right, and the thing about listening, if you're new to this, a lot of folks come to the banjo and say, "Man, I want to play the banjo," and then the first thing you're hit with is, "Well, what style do you want to learn?" Well, you may not know, and so before you even start to play, before you even buy a banjo, just start listening. Something will turn your crank. You will like a particular sound, and then explore that. You might love the clawhammer style like Allie plays, but you also might like some of the three-finger stuff like Earl Scruggs played.
Like Jim Pankey plays.
Like me.
But for me, my big gateway was Julianne Welch, and her main instrument is guitar and singing, but she had a song called Hard Times, and it came out on the Harrow and the Harvest record, and she plays a really slow, beautiful, haunting clawhammer banjo, and that's what hooked me. And that's, now I know, okay, mostly a lot of people play clawhammer banjo to back up a fiddler in an old time jam or whatever. I had no idea when I started. I just thought it was a great instrument for accompanying vocals, like Pete Seeger did the same thing. So
one of the other things that Allie and I talked about as far as something that's important, if you go online and let's say you've got your banjo and you're starting to learn, you will hear a lot of people tell you, "Oh, you need to go out to a jam." But Allie and I are on the same page as this one. You wouldn't suggest somebody to go to a jam.
Not right away. I mean, you want to get there for sure, but it can be too intimidating, and to feel like, oh, I feel this pressure to participate. And there's so much going on in the jam that's the social dynamics as well as the musical dynamics. And so my tip, instead of go out and find a jam right away, before that, go find a human.
Just somebody.
Find a real life person. I got Jim here in real life, so I'm lucky right now. But find somebody in your community, whether it's your local music store, or maybe you go to a jam but you don't go to play, you just go to try to meet someone, or maybe you go see some live music locally and try to make acquaintances with somebody else that maybe they're just starting their banjo journey too, or maybe they're just starting to play guitar. Even if it's a similar instrument, getting together with them to play and swap ideas, there's more in common between guitar and banjo than there is difference.
Sure,
really.
And they don't have to be better than you. They don't have to be an experienced musician. In some ways, it would be good if they were on the same page as you, the same kind of level. And then y'all can be beginners together and you feed off of what each other's learning, and there's some competition, and
having a buddy on your music journey is the best.
Absolutely.
The best. I've been lucky to have a few different ones along the way, and that's what you got to do. That's how you grow, and that's how you learn. Of course we love books, of course we love online teachers, but find you somebody in real life.
Yeah.
That's my second tip.
Yeah. The one of the, we can call this one number 3. And Allie was mentioning this, but I'm going to claim this one, at least the name of it. It's called Play Like a Child. And basically Allie was saying to not get hung up on all the details, right?
Yeah, like it's really easy, especially with us banjo people, we really like our tabs. And that's a great tool. But we also can get way too zeroed in and feel like we have to do it exactly like how the tabs say, or that we have to play exactly 20 minutes, or we have to, just like too literal in our interpretation sometimes of suggestions. So just playing.
Pick your banjo up, mess with it.
See what happens if you try something different. It's all experimentation.
Right, and all of that will mean something. You're not gonna be stuck just doing the same things over and over. And you'll find that your time with the instrument passes a lot quicker.
Faster, yes.
Quicker that way.
And I think part of that idea came too from, I've had some students, Cheryl, if you're out there, I'm talking about you, that are grown adults, 50, 55, but they had a teacher early in their past, in their history, that made the instrument something that they had to work hard to achieve. Like, oh no, you're not ready to play this yet. No, you have to do this before you can hold the banjo. You have to do this before you can play the nice violin, whatever it is. But okay, I kind of get that mindset from a teacher, but really that's really harmful because we want to play like kids. You want your kids to play with their toys. You want your banjo to be something you just pick up and grab and have fun with.
Which takes us to the next tip. I would never tell you that I was going to go practice my banjo. I need to go practice. That sounds
it's
like
not a
torture.
word I
It
like
sounds
to.
like torture.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right to say I practice my banjo. I play my banjo.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not saying that there won't be times that you have to sit down and drill a certain technique or something, but make it a game. Turn it into something fun. Make it play. Play your banjo. Play every day.
And also, if you don't, though, don't let the shame spiral keep you from not playing anymore. So I've seen this too, where like, especially like piano lesson, people that took piano lessons as a kid, the teacher's like, you have to practice every day, and you'd like get shamed and scolded if you didn't practice every day. Well, this is different. You want your banjo to be your friend for the rest of your life. So if you miss a day here and there, if you miss a week here and there, it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of life. You got to take a break from things sometimes to come back refreshed and fall back in love with it again. So, you know, even if it's not every day that you play your banjo, when you do play it, play with curiosity and fun, inquisitively, like a kid.
Just play. Just play. And then the final tip is
get outside, man. This banjo, it was developed and came to be through natural materials. Gourds that grew in the ground out in West Africa, animal skin, animal guts for the strings. I mean, literally comes from the ground. So the most natural place to take your banjo is outside.
Yeah, take it outside. You don't have your music stand, you don't have your tab book, you don't have your recorded music, you don't have your strum machine to play along with. You're just outside with your banjo.
Because sometimes you just have to approach it as a relationship. Like sometimes you need the strum machine, or you want a regimented, practice rehearsal moment. Okay, that's fine. But also balance it out. Like just go hang out with your banjo outside. Go sit on a rock in the backyard, or take it on a little hike and sit by the stream. Because you need that balance. Because
so much of the regimental practice, that comes later. You find yourself in a band. Somebody says, hey, let's learn this song. Then that's when you have to dig in and learn that song. And sure, that's some regimented practice, but that's not today. That's a couple of years down the line, possibly.
You've got to build your friendship with your banjo. And the comfort of just sitting around holding it, just letting it sit with you and letting it feel like an extension of you and not some weird, awkward machine, which that too. But.
which gives us our bonus tip, which this will be the final one, is leave your banjo out where you can get to it.
Absolutely. We've got them hanging up on the walls in my house, and they'll just be looking at me like, play me, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Maybe for a minute.
Maybe just a minute.
But those minutes add up.
Right.
You wind up over the course of the day. You might get 2 or 3 hours played at 10 minutes of time intervals.
It's really, I try to replace my doom scrolling with my drop thumbing is what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah. Awesome.
You can put that on a sticker. I'll give it to you.
Yes, drop thumbs, not doom scrolling.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's play another tune and let these folks go.
Okay.
And
do you want to play one and I'll play?
I would love to play the banjo. Let me go grab one and you tune your fiddle up.
Oh, okay. I'm going to play this Julianne Johnson, and here's why. Because I'm teaching beginners at an event I'm doing later this year, and it's called the Indiana Fiddle Frolic. And at this event, all of our beginners are going to work on this next tune, Julianne Johnson, and a couple other simple tunes. I'm going to give the tunes in advance so they can work on it before the event, and then come and we'll all jam it and practice it together.
And I'm going to learn it right now.
There you go. finding tunes badly because I'm not a real fiddler yet. So
It sounds great to me. Allie, this was fun. And you know, that's the great thing about this is it doesn't have to be pristine.
no.
As a matter of fact, I'd almost prefer it wasn't.
Me too. It's so
It's-
much more fun to just play when you get to a point where you don't care as much about being note for note perfect and you can just relax and enjoy the rhythm of your tune and who you're playing with and listening to the other person.
You can play yourself a song.
You can.
That's the best part. All right, folks, if you like this sort of thing, be sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe, and if you want notifications when I do more stuff like this, ring that bell. See you next time.